Warriors are on a 4-game win streak in the most critical time of the season if Golden State wants to see the postseason. And thankfully, there are only 3 things to really discuss here that do affect the next 8 games the Warriors could be playing. So Jonathan Kuminga, there will be an injury update on him on today's show. A doctor actually spoke out about what his knee tendonitis is going to do for the very good player for the Warriors this past season and what it's going to look like moving forward. But the good news is that the Golden State Warriors have created a little bit of space for themselves in between 10th place and 11th place. They're now 2 games ahead of the Houston Rockets after Jalen Green and the Rockets lost to Luka Doncic and the Mavericks over the weekend. And we're going to talk about what the postseason could mean for Klay Thompson, who is fighting for a contract extension to possibly stay a Golden State Warrior, or if he'll go to a different team. But this is Warriors Today by Chat Sports. I am your host, Allie Barefoot. Let's get into the injury report, shall we? Jonathan Kuminga, they have played 3 straight games without Jonathan Kuminga now. He only had missed 2 games the entire season before this little hiatus. But how long can the Warriors go before they really start to need Jonathan Kuminga and they're noticing his absence? The good news is a doctor actually did speak out to 95.7 The Game about Jonathan Kuminga's injury. I may fudge up this name a little bit, so I do apologize, but Dr. Pendaya is how I believe it said. He's a professor at UCSF Orthopedic Surgery, and he said, look, I wouldn't be super concerned about it. These aren't things that become chronic. It really is just rest. You could do an ultrasound or injections, but reducing the load to that area and letting the soreness go away would get you back on the court. It's about time and maintaining that mobility. Now, for a little bit more reference here, the MD actually did put this out on Twitter after he was listed as out against the Spurs, and he said a major part of the treatment for knee tendonitis, which is what Jonathan Kuminga has, is decreasing the load on his knees. The fact that this is a bilateral injury for Kuminga, which means both knees are affected, may simply be a function of the drastically increased minutes he has played this year compared to prior years as his body adapts, which is something to keep an eye on. The good news is that the starting 5 the Warriors have gone with in the past couple of games out Jonathan Kuminga have actually been putting up impressive numbers, and I personally think they should have been playing all year long like this. Draymond Green only played 2 out of those 3 games without Jonathan because, of course, he was ejected. But in those 2 games, he obviously noticed why he's such a great asset on offense and on defense. Wiggins has started to show a little bit of life like we saw last year. Thompson as well has been in the starting lineup. Trace Jackson Davis has been stepping up, starting in the center to provide a lot of height in the paint, which I do agree with. And Curry is just doing what Curry does. But you're still lacking the athleticism that Jonathan Kuminga does bring every single game for the Warriors. 16.3 points per game, 5 rebounds per game. He's shooting 53% from the field, which is incredible, and 31.6% from a three-point line. That's actually gotten better in the last 10 or 15 games or so. So clearly, he is trying to improve that game, but nobody's looking at JK to be the next Splash Brother. They're looking at mobility. They're looking at down low, the way he crashes to the board, and what he does outside of the box score is what you are lacking with the Golden State Warriors. But the good news is, as long as the Warriors are winning, which they are on a 4-game win streak, they should just keep resting Jonathan Kuminga. That's what Doctor has said, that this is all this needs, is just rest to let that soreness go down. I would not be rushing JK back as much as I want to see Jonathan Kuminga highlights every single game like you guys do. The only game that I suggest Jonathan Kuminga must be ready to play is on Thursday versus the Houston Rockets, because a loss to the Rockets will really make it difficult to create separation between the 10th place and the 11th place if you have the 11th place win over that 10th place standing, which is where the Warriors are right now. And of course, as you guys know, they're in 11th place. They don't make the play-in. Well, if you guys want to wish Jonathan Kuminga a speedy recovery just like I do, go on ahead and like this video for me. We're trying to get to 200 likes just so at least Jonathan Kuminga can see that Warriors Today by Chat Sports has his back. If they do want to come back and have a rest, have him back healthy, go on ahead and like this video for me. While you guys are doing that, I do want to break down our sponsor here on Warriors Today. The #1 daily fantasy sports app is getting that much more exciting as we are heading into a huge part in all the crossover seasons imaginable: MLB, college basketball, NBA. All you guys have to do is go to prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use that promo code CLNS for a first-time deposit match up to $100. And when you get there, all you got to do is pick between 2 to 6 players and just pick more or less on their projected stats. Because I know March is over. The biggest moments in college basketball tip off the month of April. Be a part of the action on Prize Picks for both men and women's college basketball. You can get on the playoff action and win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks as you and the world's best players take the game to a new level during basketball's postseason. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. You can turn $10 into 1,000 with basketball, hockey, and college basketball entries today on Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app. So here are some Prize Picks that could be going on. There are a lot of college basketball as well. You've got Jaylen Brown, Alex Wood, RJ Davis. These were picks that I had the other night. When you've got NBA, MLB, along with a lot of college basketball as well. So just go to prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use that promo code CLNS for a first-time deposit match up to $100 and watch your money. You can win up to, and get a first-time deposit match up to $100. Let's go ahead and talk about Klay Thompson here, shall we? Because I know Klay Thompson has a lot riding on these last 8 games of the season. He's already voiced that he will explore free agency, just like he should be able to when a player does hit that mark. But he's also voiced that he really wants to stay a Golden State Warrior for the rest of his career. So with these 8 games coming up, Klay Thompson is pretty much fighting for a future, in my opinion. And what he's done since the All-Star break has proven that he still has a little bit of splash going on in downtown. 38.2% from a three-point line. Klay Thompson has obviously shot better from the arc in previous seasons, but I do like what he has done since he has now created a new role for himself. But also 40.9% from the field. It's not the best for Klay Thompson. He's had a different role. He's been starting some games, been coming off the bench, but still since All-Star break, it hasn't been as bad as it was the beginning of the season. But the only thing is that when you look at Klay Thompson, of course you're going to look at his offensive assets. That's what he's been known for. But here's where it really makes me intrigued as to what they're going to do with Klay Thompson in the offseason, because defense has never really been one of his strong points. And when you look at the younger guys, Brandin Podziemski and Jonathan Kuminga, they're putting up the best defensive ratings in the NBA, on the Golden State Warriors. And these are the defensive ratings since the All-Star break. Once again, Klay Thompson has gotten better since the All-Star break, but overall, 112.8 is not what Klay Thompson is really known for. And I do think the Warriors, who are lacking defense, they are in the bottom 5 of the NBA defensive ratings. It really makes me wonder, as if you're going to re-sign him for those offensive assets, will it be enough to really kind of X-nay what he's done on defense? We've always known Klay Thompson has been more of an ISO defender. He really does do a great job of locking players up primarily around the perimeter. But when you are now standing in the bottom 5 of NBA defensive rating the entire year, you have to start looking at stuff in terms of how many free agents out there, how many players can I go get that are going to help me on both sides of the ball. Despite Klay being a good ISO defender, he's not very athletic laterally because of those 2 injuries. So I think there are better players out there that you can get more for your money, especially this year, with now that you have the Warriors, who have been fighting back and forth with 10th and 11th place for the past couple of months. You do now see that the Warriors are ahead of the Houston Rockets, which does help them in terms of allowing Klay Thompson to breathe just a little bit and really start to find his flow. He sat one of those games that Jonathan Kuminga sat because he also had knee tendonitis, which makes me a little bit worried that he's 34 years old and he's missing crucial games because, well, his body is responding. It is natural. I understand. It's like how Jonathan Kuminga is sitting because his body is responding. In my mind, knowing that there's 8 games left, I don't think Mike Dunleavy's stupid. I think he has a full-blown plan of what they're going to do with Klay Thompson, but I do think these last 8 games are going to matter on whether or not they want to bring KT back to be a 6th man of the year type of player next year, or if they just want to release him and start over and end this era on a high note. If I'm going to offer Klay Thompson a contract, I'm going to give him upwards of 2 years for $60 million, which is even more than they were going to offer him in the offseason, which was a 2-year, $48 million contract that he denied, which is why I think there at least has to be a little bit of pay increase. Not necessarily that he fully deserved it this year, but just because of what he's done for the franchise in the last decade. It would be kind of one of those, here's our last offer, we'll have to see what's going to happen. But I would offer him 2 years, $60 million. I know a lot of you down in the comments might say this is outrageous. You might not agree with me. That is totally okay. That's why we have Warriors Today by Chat Sports, because I'm going to give you my opinion. I'll show you guys the stats, and then you guys can break down your opinion as well. What offer would you give Klay Thompson in free agency to have him come back to the Golden State Warriors? He's going to be a free agent on April 14th. If there is no postseason for the Golden State Warriors, that will be the end of their regular season. Free agency does start June 30th, so there's going to be a lot of things happening for Klay Thompson in that meantime. Go ahead and drop your comment below, but I want to introduce to you top 10 NBA free agents that the Warriors could go out and possibly get a new player to come to the Warriors. And look at this list. There are plenty of superstar names that would probably make a lot of fans really rethink re-signing Klay Thompson for that much money. Paul George has a player option. So does LeBron James, James Harden. You got DeMar DeRozan, who's had a rough couple of years, but he's still getting up there. You got Jonas with the New Orleans Pelicans, Tobias Harris, who I personally would not go out and get. You got Miles Bridges. He's got some personal issues I probably wouldn't mix in with. Pascal Siakam with the Pacers. OG Anunoby's been doing wonders for the New York Knicks right now. And you got Nick Claxton, who I personally think would be a great young addition to the Golden State Warriors. So with that many free agents going to be on the market in the offseason, it really makes me wonder is it worth trying to recalibrate Klay Thompson to be this sixth man of the year robot, or would you rather go out and get another player that is currently producing win now numbers? Not to mention, a lot of those free agents are in their mid-30s, lower 30s. I'm looking at Nick Claxton. I'm looking at OG Anunoby. I'm looking at the younger guys kind of in 30 and below that could produce for the Warriors for multiple years to come if you were to pick them up in the free agency. Plus, if they do offer him a smaller contract, which he will not get a max extension, I can almost guarantee that there were rumors that he would get that before the season started, but after we've seen his production level this year, I doubt that's going to happen where they just offer Draymond Green a max extension. You'd be clearing up $43 million in the offseason to sign another star like Paul George, James Harden, OG Anunoby, LeBron James. There are plenty of players you could get for a person that you are not going to pay anymore, which would be Klay Thompson. So my last and final question here to ask you guys is name a player you would like to pick up in the free agency. I've just shown you 10 players that are going to be free agents. There are still plenty more out there. It doesn't have to be somebody I listed. It can be anybody else. But all you guys have to do for me is go ahead and comment a free agent you would like the Warriors to at least consider in the offseason. And while you guys are doing that, go ahead and like this video. If you love the Golden State Warriors, if you want everything and all things Golden State Warriors, you're going to find right here at Warriors Today by Chat Sports. So all you guys got to do is like this video.